I will start with what does it mean, right, to own your identity, and what current problems that we have. So at RNS ID, um, it's very simple. We solve two questions or two problems, right? The number one problem is restriction, and the second problem is overexposure. So I will to explain what do I mean by these two words. Okay. So for restriction, for example, right, we have a few examples here. For visa and immigration challenges, right? For example, you hold a Thailand ID. I mean, like a Thailand passport, right? So if you visit another country, you have to get your visa or your e-visa or your visa on arrival. So that takes like a long time, right, to process, and you have to pay. You have to visit the consulate. And the second restrictions is basically access to services, right? I know a lot of us um, in crypto understands what that means, right? A lot of country citizens is just not easy to get access um, to a lot of services. For example, if you have a citizenship of a certain country, and then that exchange serve um, will not simply serve you, right? So, and others like for access to dollars or gold, for example, right? Like in Argentina, um, like they run out of dollars, right? Or in certain Asian countries, it's just it has capital control, right? So the amount of how much like dollars you can get is limited. And there's also like certain services, like if you're trying to get access to treasury bills, like U.S. treasury bills, right, or buy stocks, like gold stocks, right. So if you have a certain ID, it's sometimes it's not easy to get this kind of services, right? Whether crypto or dollars or stocks. Um, and then the third one that we see over here is for global collaboration, right? So right now, if you have an innovation and you want to register a patent, right, you have to do a PCT, and you have to register in all of those 195 countries, right? Which is not really necessary, right? You can just register a global patent, and you don't have to pay like all those lawyer fees for like 100 countries. So out of here, like we cannot solve everything altogether, right? We can only solve one problem at a time. So we collaborate with the Republic of Palau to offer this digital residency program, which is to solve this second problem first, right? This access to services. So with an identification card, a legal ID issued to the digital resident from the Republic of Palau, you'll be able to get access to a lot of financial services that are traditionally not available to where you are born or where you hold citizenship with. And you can use the identification to get access to crypto, to dollars, to euros, and to stocks. And the second problem that we see here is for overexposure, right? So what I mean here is that you're, like unable to use certain services, right? It is not necessary to disclose all of your information. For example, if you go to a bar, right? They only need to verify if you're over 21 years old. But when you show you their ID, when you show when you show them your ID, right? They'll be, they'll be able to see your real age. Like when are you born? Like 45 years old or 30 years old. So that is not necessary, right? And what we see also are like, bias assumption or profiling, right? For example, like, your kids applying to school, right? Or you applying for a job. And then most of the time that when they see like your name on it, right? There'll be some, like they're most likely to tell, oh, this is Asian and that's a girl and, this is a Muslim. So a lot of the times that people do this profiling, right? So they send you the admission not based on the merit, right? They may be based on a variety of factors, right? For example, you're, you know, a lady and then you're during the age of like 20 to 30 years old or something that you're probably, you know, give birth to a baby or something, then all sorts of discrimination, right? Like, your religion, you're Jewish or something, and then like you're, have a fight with Palestine or something, and then like not all Jewish is in support of war, right? And also like, when they do the admission, right? Asian usually have to get a lot higher scores, right? Because they're able to tell, like, oh, you know, like your this race and your gender and your age, right? So how do we solve this problem? So we launched the legal DID um, during Vitalik visit. So he is the first um, Palau ID holder to mint the legal DID, right? And also for ZK verification. So this will try to solve like as much as possible, right? For restriction and also for overexposure. So what is a legal DID, right? It is your identity on a blockchain. And it has open claims instead of PII, like personal identifiable information. So it has open claims like over 21, true or false, right? It has sanction, true or false, right? It has your metropolitan area, Los Angeles, versus your detailed address. So with this, you can set, you have control of your identity by selecting, what level of exposure do you want to provide, like to different services. And you can choose minimum or you can choose standard. And for ZK verification, like we're enabling the institutions to verify your identity without you having to show them your PII information, right? You don't have to show them your ID, but you are able to verify your identity. So what we do is we allow the verifier, right, the institution, to calculate a Merkle root, based off your identity, and then they can compare the hash to to our database, and to determine if a certain ID is issued by us. And for the ZKV, like the president said, right, like we're also going to launch for document verification. And since Palau is part of the Hague Convention, so the document that we verified and apostilled is recognized, in more than 120 countries in the world. So what we're trying to offer is not just identification certification, right? Maybe your your school graduation certificate, maybe your like your any skills that you earn like a like a credential. So with that being said, you know yeah, I would like to thank you for your attention, and like for further discussion in the identity and privacy preserving space. Thank you.